صل على مبيننا صل على محمد
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, and welcome back to another episode on the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, coming to you from MT International Gambia Studios. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the strategy of one man called Naeem Bin Masud, how he tried his best to frustrate the plans of the enemy. And that happened in the Battle of Khandak, as we have been discussing. I'm here in the studio with Ustaz Suleiman Tanja on my far right, and on his right we have Brother Said Sambaso. Gentlemen, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program. Ustaz Baba, we have discussed a lot about the Battle of Khandak from the very beginning, those who instigated the Arabs, all the Arabs against the Muslims, and until where we reached a point where we were discussing internally among the Muslims, there were factions. And some Muslims showed their true colors as Muslims, but others failed, whom we have referred to as the hypocrites. But the siege had become long, and it was within, almost the last days to the end of the siege to Medina, that this Naim came into the battlefield from the tribe of Ghatafan. You tell us what strategies he employed to frustrate the plans of the Muslim, and added to that, who was he?
Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Kaisab, as you have just said, with regards to this battle, it was a tedious battle, and the Muslims were somehow tortured physically, mentally, and emotionally as well. And looking at this fact that Naeem, who was also part of the Confederates, because he came with the Kuffar to fight the Muslims in Mecca. And we have people who are also, by heart they have accepted the true teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Hazrat Naeem was also one of them. And what he did to dissuade the Kuffar, especially looking at the overwhelming numbers of the Kuffar who were about to trample upon the Muslims. In order to avoid that, Naeem bin Masud devised a plan in order to create a drift amongst the Kuffar to disperse them and also retract their attack. So that is why Naeem to do that personally. He took charge and he went to the Banu Qurayza. And he went to their fort. He talked to their leader, that's Sa'd bin Masud. So after reaching the fort of Banu Qurayza, he faced Sa'd, that's the leader of the Banu Qurayza, and he told him, that in a form that the man could be dissuaded in order not to partake and also send his troops to join the Kuffar in Mecca to attack the Muslims. And he told him that, like, if you are to join these people to fighting against Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then time will come, these people will go and they will leave you here with Muhammad. Okay, and then what is going to happen is you'll be left alone without having anyone to be by your side. So I quote his own statement. He said, in my opinion, he said to these people, he said, in my opinion, you did not do well in betraying Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's the Holy Prophet. And joining the Quraysh and Ghatafan, like he's telling the Banu Qurayza, you did not do well by joining the Quraysh and Ghatafan. Okay, these were two tribes together as a confederate to fight against the Muslims. He said the Quraysh and Ghatafan are only here in Medina for few days. He said, but he's telling the Qurayza that you are the permanent residents of this place because this is your homeland, and you shall continue to come into contact with the Muslims. Just remember that when the Quraysh, etc., leave from here, they shall not give you at least consideration, and shall leave you here at the mercy of the Muslims. In the least, you should demand that the Quraysh and Ghatafan to hand over a few men as hostages. So his plan was to insinuate that these people, Banu Qurayza, should not trust the people of coming from Mecca. So you see, the plan here was to drift them apart. And to do that, he is going to bring the trust of the Meccans into question in order to create that plan. So, and later on, after leaving this place, he went back to the Gadafan and that of the Quraysh, and he told them a similar thing, that these people would demand from you, hostages in order to leverage, against you, and to have the upper hand. So also be aware of their treachery. So this is what he did. So it so happened that the fight was to come in the second day. So this was how he planned to drift before the encounter.
Jazakumullah, Ustaz Baba. Ustaz, Said Samaso, we have seen that Naeem had gone to the Banu Qurayza. He told them that they did not do well in betraying Muhammad, and that Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that they are residents there, and they live there with the Holy Prophet and the Muslims. And he also said, you take something else in return for your help, and that is hostages. But when he went to the Quraysh, he told them, Banu Qurayza would demand hostages, but make sure you do not give them hostages. So there was already something suspicious between these people. But you see that when he went to the Banu Qurayza and the Banu Qurayza, when he told them that when the Meccans leave, you will be here, there was nobody who said, but the Meccans said we are going to win, or with this whole army, you think they are going to lose? If it was, let's say, on the side of the Muslims, you bring an information like that, they will question it. They will be like, how are you sure that we are not going to win? God have said we are going to win. So there was that surety in the Muslims that was not, in the other camps. But he tried to utilize that against them, number one. So let's say at that time, they were about to set a general attack. So when they sent a word to the Banu Qurayza, what was their response?
Jazakumullah, thank you very much. As Ustaz Murabbi Tanja has already mentioned, this man was already an individual who has belief in heart, but people are yet to know. And we have already have this type of people even well before the appearance of our beloved Master Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have seen the man who went and gave the information to Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam of the plan of Pharaoh. And then we also see the mother of Hazrat, the wife of Fir'auna, who was in La Taqtuluhu asa an yanfa'ana aw nattakhizahu walada. Don't kill Moses because he might, be a source of benefit for us. So we have this type of people. Let us not see like he is somebody who have done something wrong. I just want to eliminate that concept that how can you believe in the Holy Prophet despite that you are doing this. But at the end, we will see what he has done. So like you say, first of all, he went to the Qurayza and give them this information of doing, that their action or what they are about to do is wrong by, coming together with the Banu Ghatafan and Quraysh to fight against the Holy Prophet. He also said he went back to the Quraysh and the Banu Ghatafan. He told them, I just want to quote the exact quotation of Naeem Bin Masud when he went to the chieftain of the Quraysh. He said, the Banu Qurayza are afraid that you leave, they may be faced with difficulty on your account. Hence, they are beginning to doubt this alliance and intend to demand a few hostages as guarantee. Then he said, however, you should not give them any hostages at all, lest they betray you and hand over your hostages to the Muslims. Then these people, they appreciated, they said, oh, this man is trying to help us. So he's giving us a very clear information. So that is why when he went to the Banu Ghatafan, where the tribe he belongs to, he told them a similar statement. Then what happened? He said, by God's design, it so happened that the Quraysh and Ghatafan were already planning an all-out attack upon the Muslims. He said this attack was to be waged from all four fronts of the city simultaneously, so that the Muslims will not be able to defend themselves due to their meager number, and their line of defense could be penetrated from one place to another. So you see, he has already created a rift and suspicion between these people. And whatever he was saying, it was right. There was no single statement which was like a fabricated statement that that is not the truth. So that's why when these people, when the Banu Qurayza demand a hostage from the Quraysh people and the Banu Ghatafan that they should have a people that will come to them as a hostage for guaranteed, so that tomorrow whatever happen, they will be at safe hand with the Muslims. So these people, they say, oh, this is what Naeem was telling us, that these people, they will demand a hostages, but if we give them, perhaps they may go into betrayal. So it's like what Naeem is telling us, it is the fact. You understand? So again, these Quraysh people also, when the Quraysh refuse to send a hostage, they also say, oh, what Naeem was telling us is true. So it's like these people are selfish. They don't want to send us guarantee. So when we join them, at the end of the day, whatever the consequences, they will go and leave us with the Muslim here. So you see, that was the strategy he used. So they started having a suspicion among themselves. And all what Naeem was saying was the fact. So this is the way he...
You are saying that when Naeem told the Banu Qurayza they should demand hostages, so when they were ready for an all-out attack, the Quraysh sent a word to the Banu Qurayza saying that tomorrow we are preparing for a simultaneous attack on all fronts.
Yes.
So you people also prepare. They made first an excuse that the next day is their Sabbath day. Yeah. But then they will not also engage in any fighting until and unless the Quraysh give them hostages as a guarantee. And that kind of sort of resonated with what Naeem had already told the Quraysh.
Exactly.
And when the Quraysh refused, the Banu Qurayza said, okay, we have seen what Naeem has told us. Yes. He has given us a good advice. But Ustaz Baba, would we say what Naeem had done, could it be said to have been any kind of falsehood?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You know, Kaitsab, it is part of the art of war to be, to have the upper hand, meaning to think about some tactics that could lead you, to become triumph, especially over your enemy. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-harbu quda'a," that war itself is strategy. So this was to Hazrat Naeem was strategizing this very fact that he knew if he is going to the only way to drift these people apart was to communicate to these people something that was not told to these people. Like there was something, like for example, he went to these people telling them that you have to require something from them. That's not a lie, obviously. But then he went to the other people, these people will require something from you. So you see, so these people who, like the kuffar, started having suspicion, like, okay, maybe these people, they do not have our best interest at heart. But you see, this was the major point that he knew, like when even though he was speaking, he was telling the truth, but then these people will start suspecting, because they were not in good, we cannot say, let me say, in a sense that they are not going to trust each other. So the trust here is what this man is trying to use as an instrument, as ammunition to, secede them from each other. And it's not a lie, obviously, because he was speaking the truth to suggesting to these people one thing and suggesting to the other people another thing.
So we could say that he used their own weakness against them. And that is what the Holy Quran has told us, that they may appear like a confederate, that they are united. But God said, تَحْسَبُهُمْ جَمِيعًا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ شَتَّى. But you imagine them to be a confederate. They are all together with one purpose. But then internally, they do not have that trust. They are far divided.
Yes. And we also have to put this into mind, that amongst the tribes of the Quraysh, like Ghatafan and all, amongst themselves, there were people who are, into tribes. So obviously each tribe has a incentive, and mostly the Arabs are never united in that sense. So the only force that they were united against was the Muslims, because they all wanted to repel the Muslims, from permeating into their society. So this was the only thing that made them that confederate to come against the Muslims. So when this man used that against them, then you see their heart, as the Quran has stated, it started showcasing gradually.
Jazakumullah, Ustaz Baba. Brother Said Samaso, let's see how the whole confederate disappeared, from Medina. What happened?
Thank you very much. Like the way, the plan that this man devised, that's Naeem, was something that was effective, but it was just a temporary sort of. But then, like, the greatest power and the support came, that's from Allah Almighty, as He always promised that He will be helping the Muslims. And this, they have no doubt about that. They knew the help of Allah is coming, and which is the best of help. So it is narrated by Hazrat Basir Ahmad, and many historians narrate this. So he was saying, he said after that, after this rift that was created between the disbelievers and mistrust happened between them, there was a temporary disunity, but eventually they came back and they started to regain their unity back. Then that was the time Allah the Almighty sent a sign against them by supporting the Muslim. He said, Basir Ahmad says, by God's design, it so happened that after this occurrence, he said, fierce wind struck at night, and as the encampment of the disbelievers was situated in a place that was a very open place, so automatically when a strong wind comes, they will suffer the consequences. You understand? So this, when this happened, he said, tents were uprooted, and their covering flew off, and cooking vessels were overthrown, and a rain of sand and pebbles began to fill the ears, eyes, and nose of the people. He said, then, more than anything else, the national fires, which were kept alight during the night with great formality, according to the ancient Arab custom, began to blow out here and there like loose debris. He said, this spectacle shocked the superstitious hearts of the disbelievers. This was what Allah the Almighty used against them, and this is the way Allah the Almighty supported them. So this is, they have already suffered a hardship of long siege. Understand? They have been waiting for a long time to come together and launch an attack against the Muslim, but that could not happen. And sudden mistrust happened between them, and now they are regaining back power to go and attack again. This another problem come, another hardship come. So they were so worried about this. Then when this happened, Abu Sufyan was there. So for him, he was so worried, and now he gave up. You understand? He gave up in everything, because he had been waiting for a long time, nothing happened, and now they are about to attack against another greater hardship is coming upon them. Then he summoned his people. He said, our difficulties are increasing. He said, it is no longer appropriate for us to stay here. It is better for us to return, and as for me, I am off. Meaning, I have no hope now in anymore. Understand? So he could not understand what is going on. Whenever they are about to have the time or the courage to go and attack, that's the time something comes up against him. So for him as a leader, and he is so in such a frustration, then automatically the entire army will fall. Yeah, and we will see what eventually will even happen.
We have even mentioned before that he was the overall commander of the army. So if we hear such words from him, then we know that there were hundreds or thousands like him who were quiet. But because he was the voice of the people, so he spoke. But Ustaz Baba, let's see how the help of God came. Brother Said Sambaso has talked about fierce wind storm that came, uprooted their tents, turned, upside down their cooking pots, and extinguished their national fire. Let's talk about how important that was, because when we look at the main thing they believe in, like the national fire that was kept alight and never allowed to go off. God in a sort used what they believed against them. Because when that was off, so they will lose heart. But that could have also had another significance in itself, because the national fire of a people, when we study the Holy Quran, you know the essence of fire. And you know the essence of water. You know the essence of saying, the people of the right hand and the left hand. If you put all that together, you will see that God has not only extinguished the fire just for them to go away, but it had a greater purpose.
Yes. And when we study the Arabs, these people are so symbolic in whatever they do practically. And when it comes to the fire, okay, as you have already mentioned, it was like it was a national symbol to showing the fighters, the warriors, that this thing is to represent us, to show that our fire is not going to diminish at all. But also, they were also superstitious. these Arabs, they were super superstitious. This is why upon the, when this fire was quenched off, so it's to like they were fear-stricken. Why? Because they felt that the fire that was representing them, the fire that they were keeping alight the whole night, the whole time, has now gone off. Okay, now it felt like they were now in darkness. So they felt that the omens are against them, because there's a spirit representing this thing, and it has gone off. And now we are also to face devastating effects if we do not make any amends to our efforts going to the war. So that is why they practically, gradually, they have this fear in their hearts. They start running away, and this was what Allah used against them. Okay, so because as a people, sometimes if you are indoctrinated, what happens is those things gradually affect your heart, and when they affect your heart, your entire body, your entire actions tend to follow. Because as this thing, what is representing them, as they believe this thing is their, let's say, is their triumph, and their triumph now is now darkened. So the only way is now to retreat, and that is why Abu Sufyan carried this thing, called upon all of them to leave immediately before more detriment befall them.
Yeah, added to that, I would say that it was a design of God, not to only extinguish that fire and so that they can disperse, but it was a sign that that fire will never become alive again. It was from then onwards. We could say that this battle was the culmination of the devotion of the Muslims towards their faith. It was the distinguishing factor between those who were true Muslims and those who were fake Muslims, and between those who said, we have had an alliance with the Muslims, we want to keep it, and those who will want to break their words. When we look at this battle, we see everything coming to its culmination. There's no wonder when you read the surah that, this battle is mentioned, that the Surah Al-Ahzab, you will see the khatamiyyat of the Prophet ﷺ in that very same surah. And you would see the praise that God had given to the Sahabas, saying, Minal mu'minina rijalun sadaqu ma ahadullaha alayhi, faminhum man qada nahbahu wa minhum man yantazir. Among the people, among the believers are those who have truthfully fulfilled their vow to God. But there are some of them who are waiting to fulfill that, and they have not changed at all. They are 100% in what they believe. So when we look at this surah and we see the occurrences in, that battle, no wonder we would later on see the Prophet ﷺ saying, from now on, it is us who are going to them. They will never have the courage to come to us. So the tide changed.
Yeah. And if you look at it, this was the first time ever they were able to amass that huge number of people, from different various tribes and parts of the of Arabia, and it was also the last time they had such a such a great confederate to fight against the Muslims. That is why it has never happened to the Muslims. It has such a confederation coming to attack them, and even after the whole lifetime of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it has never happened. So this was the first and the last ever. So it also represents.
So, Brother Said Samba, so you tell us, you have started mentioning, both of you have started mentioning how Abu Sufyan said something and he wanted to flee. You tell us how he fled and how the Banu Ghatafan got the news and they also followed suit.
Yes, in essence, as you said, Abu Sufyan, for him, this was too much for him. As we already mentioned about the fire, which was a great symbol for them, symbol of their power as well. So for him, in fact, it is narrated that he went to the extent of, due to his fear and his surprise, he went and mounted on his camel even without untying the camel. He even forgot about all those things. So somebody told him, when he mounted on the camel and the camel was not moving, he remembered that he already tied the camel, but he forgot to untie it. So he came down to untie the camel. So in that particular time, while he was doing so, Ikrimah bin Abu Jahl, who was by then was not a believer, did not accept Islam, he told him, Abu Sufyan, you are mounting on your camel and you are fleeing from the battle without even waiting for the army. So if you are the leader of the army, flee from the battle. What are you trying to show us? So he was embarrassed. He was so embarrassed of this statement. Then he told them, okay, so do it quickly. Try to prepare and we move. So he waited them, they all prepare and they all mounted on their camels and they started moving. So after that he said, there you are, I am not going anywhere yet, but you should quickly prepare and leave here as quickly as possible. That is the exact statement of
that was his response.
Exactly, to Ikrimah bin Abu Jahl. Then he said, until the time, the Banu Ghatafan and the other tribes, for them, they had no understanding of what these Quraysh people are doing. They were not even thinking of these Quraysh will flee from the scene. So it was a surprise to them. But when they saw that the Quraysh are departing, they also followed the footsteps, prepared to do so.
It was a heavy storm also. So there was a heavy storm, and the place was, foggy. Yeah. So these people, they could not see through, and so they were not aware of the quick departure of Abu Sufyan and his cohorts. So that is why later on when the news reached them, so they were surprised and astonished to why these people were leaving and they left us here. So they also quickly went to
This can also teach us something. When you converge or when you gather for your selfish interest or for anything without apart from Allah's this is an issue, then most often than not, when you are to depart, you will not depart in a very good man. So look at it. When they were gathering, they were all happy to call each other, understand, and make plans together. But when the hardship comes, they all flee without even informing each other. At least the Quraysh could have informed the Banu Ghatafan that they are going, or let's all go together.
As well as the Banu Qurayza.
Exactly, but they forgot each other, and everybody was thinking of his own.
So, Ustaz Baba, we can say that the battlefield was, at the time being cleared, and the news reached the Banu Ghatafan. They also followed suit. But how about the Banu Qurayza? What happened to them? We know that prior to this, we discussed in one program where someone tried to convince them so that they came in support of the Quraysh and they fight against the Muslims, despite their being in Medina and having subscribed to living under the constitution of Medina.
Yes, the only thing they could do was to resort back to their own encampment, that is the fortress they had. And we see even Huyay bin Akhtab, the chieftain of the Banu Nadir, also quickly ran to these people, his fellow Jewish people, that's the Banu Qurayza. And then he was also with them, and they encamped themselves within their own fortress, because they knew that the Muslims cannot just come and penetrate through. So, and they were also worried because all their plans have come to naught, and obviously the treachery has to be answered. So this was also the result of their treachery.
Jazakumullah, Ustaz Baba and Brother Said Sambaso. We could say that all these things happened just shortly before Fajr prayers. Maybe in our next episode we will start from there, and then we continue to during the day and what would later on happen to the Banu Qurayza itself. Jazakumullah to both of you. Dear viewers, this is all time allowed us to discuss on this particular topic today. Until we come back here with another topic, for now we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salli ala mubinina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala Nabiyyina, salli ala Muhammadin.